Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Sunday's Best. And I trust that you've had a great weekend. I know I have. It was busy, it was hot. Had a great garage sale, great turnout. Um, Got some things sold, and looking forward to another great week. And I hope you are as well. So if this is your first time, don't make it your last. We do want to always bring you something of value on Sunday's Best. And we say it's easy like Sunday morning. So if you haven't invited someone to Sunday's Best lately, make sure you do. Because you know what? They're missing a lot. And you'll have more to talk to them about that's positive. Talk about new growth, just like my garden that I'm growing. I'm able to communicate with people who are experts, and this is my first try at it. So collaboration is good. So again, if this is your first, you have a front row seat. You can eat your popcorn or you can have your dessert. So we always start with a review from last week. And all month long, last month we talked about how to prepare recession-proof your finances. And this month, we're talking about cutting your bills in half. And so I'm going to review a little bit of what we had on last week before we go into this week. Last week we talked about create your own get out of debt program. And how do you do that? You change some habits. You change your lifestyle perhaps. And you prepare for new growth. It requires commitment, planning, strong discipline, and the ability to change what you can and know what you can't change. Some of those bills are pretty much permanent, and you have to figure your way around them if you can't get out of them. And we gave you a couple of tips. One of them was stop borrowing, stop reaching and charging for that credit card. Use cash if you can. Number 2, track your spending for 30 days. Use the bank or some money management tool to keep a track of your receipts. Benefits. It will reveal, these receipts and tracking will reveal to you probably some things that you don't want to know, but it will reveal to you the places where your money is going. And remember, it's not always the amount of money that you make, but how much you keep. So you got to know what's going in, what's coming out, what's coming in, what's going out, and what it's being spent on, and what is that money doing for you. Have you got your money working for you? You should have. Money needs direction. So we talked about that, and we said a written budget is taking action, not just talking about what you want to do. And they say that people that write down their goals are 42% more likely to accomplish them. And let's see what else we talked about last week. I don't believe I got to all of this, but it said involve your family. The entire family needs to know the goals and objective and what the mission is in order to become debt free. You need to have everybody on board, including those little people that make decisions but make no money. All right? So, but it's important to have everybody's cooperation. We said that you should use those coupons. You should know when to go shopping, not go shopping when you're hungry. Watch the dates on your goods. Don't buy in bulk if you're not going to use it and it's going to spoil. Which days of the week are better to shop? So those are some of the things that we went over last week. And we said, stop trying to compare yourself, and you shouldn't need stuff to feel good about yourself. Sure, it's nice to drive a fine car. It's nice to look good. But when you value yourself and when you know your self-worth, you don't need all the fluff. In fact, you would be better off being comfortable in your own skin instead of trying to keep up with the Joneses. Because the Joneses may have big mortgages, they may have big credit card balances, they may not be able to sleep at night, they may be robbing Peter to pay Paul, they may be in the red while looking good in the red bottom shoes. And so all of these things you need to take into consideration. So that was last week, and I gave you a list of 27 ways to get out of debt. And it said, when you're in debt, it could be easy to pretend everything is fine until one day it catches up with you. Yes, some debt is dumb, and you need to know the difference between the debts. All right, so now that we all are on the same page, those of you who weren't on last week are new to Sunday's Best. That's what we usually do. We usually go back a page or two or a chapter. And last week in this book, we went through chapter 1. And if you have your book, I'm sure there's some things that you highlighted, some things that you saw that I may not even get to tonight. But I don't believe this book is more than a $10 investment, because I first read it in 1993, okay? And so some of the stuff is still relevant today. Like I said, some of them are automated because you may not have to cut out coupons. You may have them on your phone. You may not be paying for a landline, and you certainly are not using a party line, as we explained what that was last week. So things are being done progressively different, but back to the basics. Back to the basics. If you're going to cut out debt, you have to stop spending. If you want to be debt free, you have to stop charging. If you want to change your life, it depends on the choices you make and how consistent you are in being true to yourself. So tonight, we're exploring, as we have been in June and July, how to prepare for a recession, because it's here. How do you cut your bills in half? Only you can make that surgery happen successfully. The economic slowdown, due mainly to inflation. Inflation right now is 8 to 9%. So people are having to spend most of their money, if not all of it, on 3 things. And we talked about how you need to have those walls covered. And the 3 that we are going to address from this particular book is going to be food, transportation, and shelter. That's the top 3 economic challenges for all of us. Food, we talked about last week. Transportation is what we're going to talk about tonight. And then next week, we're going to talk about one of my favorites, which is shelter, which is real estate, which is you either rent or you own. And we're going to talk about the advantages and perhaps the disadvantages and the benefits and the timing and the planning and the preparation that is needed for shelter. And that would be next week. So tonight, if you have your book and if you haven't read it, this is just a brief overview. And we're going to wrap this up tonight by 7:30 for sure. And then I'm going to see who's on, and we're going to have ample time to share. So, as I stated, I'm going to give you a little bit of stats on automobiles. In 1980, I'm going back to 1980 because we bought our first car in 1973, I believe. No, we bought our first car maybe in 71 because it was a 1970 Ford Torino. And I remember that car costing $3,000. And I remember the car payment being $100 and maybe $32 or something like that. And that was a brand new car. So the average cost of an automobile in 1980 was, hold on one second. In 1980 varied depending again on the model that you bought, and it depends, and it's still today. It depends on what you want to drive, what the cost would be. And so I went back to when we talk about things in this book that you can cut. They're talking about maintenance fees. So on an automobile in 1980, you could get an oil change for maybe $20. Today, an oil change would be $137 on the average. Again, it depends on the kind of oil you use and how much and the kind of vehicle you drive. But isn't that a drastic difference? $20 to $137. And what I didn't know, because my husband used to take the cars and get the oil change, I rarely did it. I didn't know you can now sit in your car while they change the oil. I found that out about a year ago. In 1980, the average cost of a tune-up was around $200. Today, that is up to $800 for a tune-up. So we're talking about how to cut those bills in half, but you have to start at the core. The core is, what does it cost today? And so you got to know what you're trying to cut so you'll know your starting point. So many of us may not have known that oil changes are up, tune-ups are up to upward of $800, and the average cost of a Honda Civic in 1980 was a mere $4,000. $4,000. Today, it's $22,000 plus options, anywhere from $22,000 to $29,000 for a Honda Civic, and that's the base price. So there's a variance in there about $7,000. Gas prices in 1980, gas price was $1.22 to maybe $2 per gallon. Today, $4 on the average. And a month or so ago, we were just a tad under $4.75. So things change, and if you're trying to cut your budget, you have to be on top of what the average price is. Now let's talk about a home, even though we're going to go into that next month, because your top 3 economic challenges is going to be that rent, that mortgage, that car, what it takes to buy one, what it takes to maintain one, and what it takes to keep one running. The median price for a home in South Carolina in year 2000 was right under $95,000. And if there's some realtors listening, I know you can't believe that, but it was $94,900. And in this year, it's running anywhere from an average or median price home in Columbia, South Carolina is anywhere from $238,000 to $260,000, and it has been up to about $285,000. In Connecticut, where we bought our first home for $29,000 back in '73, the average price of a home in year 2000 in Connecticut was $167,000. Today, it's averaging $345,000. In Atlanta, Georgia, in 1980, the median price home was $111,000. Today, it's $326,000. So not only are you paying more, but it's going to cost you more to maintain that car, maintain that house. And so here's some of the things that you need to think about when you're making a buying decision. If it's a car, you need to do your research on the basic costs, on the features that you want in the car. How much is the car really going to cost you? Not how much they sell it to you for, but if you're financing it, how much is it really going to cost you? And if you're financing it for 7 years, really, how much is it going to cost you? How much will you get for your trade-in? Do your research. The car may be selling for $1,000, $2,000 less at one dealership, but they may be paying you $3,000 to $4,000 more for your trade-in. So you've got to be on top of your game. You got to do your research. You got to prepare. You got to position yourself to get out of debt. And that means knowing what to do before you do it, not asking the questions afterwards, because sometimes it's too late to make the change. Review the dealer's contracts carefully. Check sales prices, 3 or 4 different dealerships. They used to hate to see me coming with my husband, because buying a car is not one of my favorite things to do. And so when I went there, I probably agitated the salesperson because I asked questions and the smooth answers didn't always go well with me. I asked more questions. And when you're checking the price, check out the terms on the warranty, one that comes with the car, or the additional ones that they try to sell you. Number 7, miles per gallon mean a lot if you're trying to cut your bills in half. Repair and maintenance costs. A Mercedes and a Jaguar, I don't know about other cars, but I've heard that the maintenance is extremely high on those. And I can attest to the Mercedes because we've owned 4 and they are expensive to maintain. But they are good cars. And some people say they don't make them like they used to. But I understand you can get great mileage. And I kept mine for 22 years, had nearly 270,000 miles on it, and I wasn't having any problems with the engine at all. So let's go to the book. That was just some research that I did. And I'm going to title this first, we're in chapter 2, and it says, Making Deals on Wheels. But what I'm going to say, the takeaway is in the drive-away. The takeaway is in the drive-away. Did you know that when you drive the car off the lot, the majority of the time, it's already depreciated 20%. 20%. The takeaway is in the drive-away. So before you sign on the dotted line and drive away with something that's eating up a third of your income on a monthly basis, on an annual basis, you need to do your homework. So buying a car, when you're buying a car, it's not just that you got a new debt. Depending on whether you're buying a new car or the year and make and model of the car, you may have a car note. Your insurance can be higher. Your taxes can be higher. Your gas can be higher. And your maintenance can be higher. So what it says in the book is cars cost a lot to run. You don't have to drive a luxury land yacht to know that. And you don't have to have a PhD to understand that it costs a lot to run a car. Even the car that your parents may give to you, it may cost you a lot more than you think to maintain that car. So learning to do the simple things, they say, such as learning to change your oil, is a starter. Now, and knowing when to add a quart or two of oil. So if you know how to change your oil, and oil change, depending on how many miles you drive, you may require 3 oil changes a year. And we just said on the average, it's $130 per oil change. Of course, you still will have to buy the oil, but you might save yourself $80 or $90 times 3 or 4 times a year. So any $300 or $400 added to your emergency fund can be a great help. What are the top 5 things you should consider when you're buying a new vehicle? I want you to think about that. I'm not going to go over those at this time, but I will go over a couple of things. Maintenance. Let's talk maintenance. How many of you have AAA? AAA is for when you have that occasional breakdown. You can call somebody and they'll come pick you up for a membership of anywhere from $50 to $70, and depending on the options or the type plan, $100 a year. And I can tell you, because we had a breakdown on our vehicle a couple of years back, I can tell you that at that time it was would have been $100 well spent, because our truck had to be towed back to Columbia. It had electronic problems, and so if you have AAA, here's something you should know, or maybe you already know. I didn't know until I read this chapter. It says that you can get notary fee, free notary if you have AAA. You can get savings on your hotel, car rentals, and if you are arrested, bail, there's a cost if you're arrested and charged with a violation, that your AAA may have a feature that will pay up to $1,000. And then it says there's another benefit that most people don't know about. There's a legal insurance that comes along with AAA. So you see how what you know can help you save money, can help you cut those bills in half. Knowledge can save you thousands of dollars. So make sure that if you're buying that warranty, that you read the warranty and know whether you have bumper-to-bumper coverage, what is covered, what is not covered. And a lot of vehicles now, they come with free oil changes up to a certain mileage or a number of years. Now here's one on page 51 that you need to think about. When you need a mechanic, who do you call? When you need a good mechanic, who do you call? And it says the best way to choose a mechanic is through word of mouth. And when you talk to the person that gives you the information, you want to know, did the mechanic charge reasonable rates? Did he perform satisfactory repairs? Was he prompt? Did he have discounted parts? Does he guarantee his work? That's a great one. Does he warn you when parts are beginning to show signs of wear and tear? Now, I thought that was worth the cost of the book, $8 or $9, whatever you paid for it. I think mine was maybe more like $25 back in the day. Insist on getting estimates when you are having work done on your vehicle. Don't pay full price for tires. How many of you know what a set of good tires cost? How many of you know? I really didn't know, but I did a little research, and they said you can get a set for about $600. So, did you pay yourself this week? And is that emergency fund looking good? Because if you need tires and you're going to drive your vehicle, you're going to need a way to pay for the tires. And $600, if you only have a couple of $100 in the bank, have had that in the past, because I know if you accepted the challenge, you are nearly $3,000 in that account right now. So wouldn't it be good not to have that as a headache? And another one, the gas, folks. Gasoline is likely to be your biggest automobile operating expense. And so therefore, if it's one of the biggest and it's a third of your income, every penny you can shave off of that. Unlike certain things that happen once a year, gas is almost a weekly thing. So imagine if you can save 15 cents per gallon every time you fill up, how much money you could be saving. Remember when you used to drive up to a station and say, fill her up? You used to pay for full service. I don't think anybody offers full service anymore. But you pay more for gas now than you did then, and then you had someone filling up your tank. Now you can stop if you only want to put in $10 worth of gas because the gas is 50 cents higher than where you normally would get it. You get out, you pump the gas, you stop it at $10, and you may get to your location if it's close by, because 2 gallons of gas won't get you very far. Cut oil expenses. It says that you have a manual, and many of us have not read our manual front to back. But your manual can tell you a lot about how to save money. And the cheapest way to buy a car is to not finance it. To not what would it feel like if you were your own bank? If when you bought stuff, you paid for it out of your account. That would be a great feeling. Having your own bank. And a friend of mine, a coach, a mentor, Nicola Smith Jackson, is teaching that concept. How to have your own family bank. If you borrow, in a lot of times with cars, buying a car, you just want to know how much is a monthly payment. But no, the bigger question is, how much am I really paying? Because if I'm financing this thing over a 5 or 7 year period, I got to drive a good deal on the car, first of all, because I'm going to be paying for it, and it's a depreciating asset. It depreciates right away. When you drive off the lot, you're down 20%. So you could be paying for a lemon for 7 years, or you can be paying, in the chart on page 60, if you're paying 10% to get the dealer to finance that car for 3 years, your payment is $322.70. But the interest on that is $1,617.20. So the car didn't cost you $10,000. It cost you closer to $12,000, $11,617. So that's $1,600 more than what you thought you were paying for the car. And I just said that was over a 3-year term. But most people don't even finance for 3 years anymore. So that's where I'm going to stop tonight. And I challenge you to get this book, because just a few things that I went over tonight is the tip of the iceberg on some things that we need to do to make sure that we can handle this recession, to make sure that we can thrive, not just survive, to make sure that we're the head and not the tail, and to make sure that we cover our 4 walls. And so next week we're going to talk about shelter. I'm going to run for cover. I need shelter. Either I'm going to rent or I'm going to buy. Either I'm going to rent or I'm going to buy. Either I'm going to be on the right side of money or the wrong side of money. Either I'm going to make change or I'm going to whine and I'm going to make excuses. I hope you choose to win, not whine. And I hope you choose to invite somebody back next week, because I have something good for you on Sunday's Best. So let's see. Make sure that you pay yourself. We're going to see who's on tonight. Okay. Hello, Rima. Thank you for getting on. Sandra Bolton said, love in the red while wearing red bottom shoes. And I purchased and walked on the red paint and painted my own red bottom, and and could not tell the difference. The shoes came from Goodwill. Praise the Lord. $6.95. Black patent without a scratch. That's the way to do it, Sandra. That's the way to do it. Andrea Williams says, what is the name of the book we are reading? Andrea, the name of the book, it's an old book, and it is called Cut Your Bills in Half. Thousands of tips to save thousands of dollars. And the editors of Rondell Press. So I'll share a copy on the screen before we close out. Mary Jennings, thank you so much, Mary. I can't believe I've been Mary inboxed me about something else. I think it was about real estate, and she said I invited her to Sunday's Best, and I'm glad I did because she got on. Gloria Moore said, "Cut Your Bills in Half" by Rodale Press. So there's the answer. That's the name of the book, and it's by Rodale Press. Sophie Bradley says, "Good evening. Hope you had a great week, Sophie." Let's see who else is here. Andrea says, "Yes, amen. Food, transportation, and shelter, home repairs. That's where the money is going. Absolutely." Marva says she paid herself twice. That's great. A lot of people are from different cities on here. Sandra Bolton again says, change oil at Walmart is $49.99. Synthetic oil change. So that's good information. So if you've been paying the average, and remember that $130 average was for the best price of oil. And some cars need, I guess, maybe 6 to 8 quarts. And so that was the average. Genevieve, thanks for being back with us. You were on I think it was your 55th wedding anniversary. So again, let's switch Genevieve and Bruce Burgess from King Street. Happy anniversary and welcome back. Hey, Valerie. Valerie usually travels, and she helps me with our $1 million page for readers. We had a book club, and Valerie, I think this fall we're going to start that back up again. And thank you so much for all you do to help keep me on track. Gloria Moore says, the longer term you take on your car, the more you're paying in the long run for finance charge. Exactly true. Genevieve says, doing research before making a purchase is very important. I will add extremely important, because a lot of people make the mistake and you can't take it back. An all-day event, Mary, is absolutely correct. Hang out there until you be informed, be a well-informed consumer. Sandra Bolton says, maintenance is the reason I got rid of my Mercedes after the windshield wiper went out and on the road, and I had to purchase windshield wipers, motor and transmission. Oh my God. Yeah, that had to be expensive. Marva says, questions are important for your own understanding. And Genevieve says, AAA is good. It's a good service to have. Lavinia says, I always ask questions if I don't understand something. And that is only common sense. Yes, and I think you should do that. You should ask questions. And anybody that doesn't want to entertain your question doesn't deserve your money. Vivian says, AAA is good to have. Also has good rates on auto and home insurance. Discount on hotels and rental cars. So we're getting into the double, triple savings on how to get some discounts. And Vivian says if you're renting a car and you have AAA, you get a discount. Martha says, I know how much it costs. Just got a set of tires. The cost depends on the tires. Exactly. We had some tires with rims that was in the corner of our garage, and so I was asking about the pricing on those, and my nephew said, You could ask $400, but they're probably worth about $800 if you were buying them new, and the rims are worth $400 alone. So I learned a lesson on yesterday. And Sandra says, remember where we used to get $5 worth of gas and ride all day? I remember that. Lavinia says, I use AAA all the time. Great information tonight. Thank you so much for that. Gloria Moore says, great information. So does Vivian. Mary says she'll come back again. And Lily, thank you for getting on. And Lily says, excellent information. And Sandra Bolton, you might want to see if you can download the PDF if it's available. Now, see, that's something you young people would do. And Valerie Russell, and probably a few others on this line, can tell you how to do that. It may be one of the ones that you can listen to as well. Audible, I think is what they call it. So, that's it for tonight, folks. I thank you so much for joining in. And I presented for 30 minutes. We did our little chit chat for 12 minutes. And so now the challenge and it's your turn. It's your turn. Think about some of the things we talked about. Read the chapter in the book, and let's save some money, because the recession is real, folks. I don't care how much money you have. The recession is real. I mean, you can have a $500,000 in the bank right now, and you're not making $10 a month. So you've got to find a way to cut out something so that you can keep more of what you earn, the hard-earned money. You need to hold on to it. You need to hold on to it until you have a 6-month reserve, and then you need to start investing that money, and make sure that when you invest your money, that you are doing your homework and your research so you can get a good return on your investment. So, have $1 million life. Enjoy life. Life is too short to pause for too long anywhere other than on a great vacation. And when you're there, don't pause. Have fun. All right? So, have $1 million life. See you next week, and bring somebody with you.